need to stand over here. I want to explain my clothes. I have been accused. I am not admitting. I am not denying. I work from home. I sit in front of a computer all day. I have Zoom meetings. I have virtual calls, whatever you call it. Anyway, I have been accused of wearing my pajama pants with a nice shirt because they only see me from here up. I'm not saying I've done it. I'm not saying I haven't done it. I'm just saying, so here I am. Before I get started, I thought a lot this week about joy, about humor, and I have had a personal experience with joy. My mom loves to tell this story. And I grew up in the Lutheran Church in Anna. Have any of you been there? They have this huge arch, okay? And a big deal at Christmas time was, they decorated that church like crazy. And they would always, when I was little, they used to put actual Christmas trees in the arch and decorate them. Yeah. Well, one year, and I think my mom was in on this, they decided that they were going to put the word joy suspended in the arch. And they used like massive pieces of plywood. I don't know, what's plywood, 4x8 or something like that. So they cut it out and they painted it, and then they stapled lights and they stapled garland or something. I don't know. And then they would get these boards and they would fasten these like 2x4s, 2x-somethings. They would fasten them together. Now, there was a little cubby hole above the arch, and the men would climb up in the cubby hole, and they had ropes, and they would hoist. Yes, so we have these 3 sheets of plywood that are painted, and they're fastened by these wood boards, and these men are hoisting. Now, I don't know how I got nominated, but I was the one that was to stand and say, a little to the left and slightly more to the right. Yeah, how do I get that job? And my grandfather, who was a wonderful supervisor, I don't know that the man ever helped with anything, but he would always tell you how to do it. He's ran in the family. He's in the back of the church, okay? So I'm like, little to the left, no, bring that. And suddenly I hear a crack, and then I hear another crack. And so I'm like here, and their altar's much bigger. And there's a choir loft over here, and there's a pretty brass pipe thing with a curtain, okay? So on the third crack, it was a big crack. I looked up, and in that moment, the J of joy was coming after me. And this is true. I ran, and the next thing I know, I was in the choir loft. My mom was just dying laughing. The J is going. And my grandpa says, that didn't work. So there you go. My experience with joy. Okay, so holy humor. I know holy moly. I know holy smokes. But I'm wasn't sure about holy humor. So Brenda and I, we talk a lot during the week. And Brenda says, I want to do this. And I said, I think this sounds like fun. So here I am. I don't know how I get nominated, but there's no deep meaning to all this that's coming. These are just things that I think about. The song we sang, If You're Happy and You Know It, are we really happy? Are you waving at me? Sorry. All right. Don't look at Dave. Are we really happy? Do we know it? Do the people around us know it? It's been a tough year. It's hard to laugh. It's hard to, to be joyful, actually. And when Harry read, go and celebrate, the joy of the Lord is our strength, God doesn't want us to spend our days being worried or afraid. If we believe in him, we are blessed. And since we're blessed, we should be joyful for the things God does to make us happy. If you woke up this morning and you're moving around, you should be happy. Maybe there were some moans or some cracks or some cramps, but be happy. That's joyful noise. We visited my dad this week. He told us that they have church every week. They don't have live church. They used to, and we keep hoping they'll go back to that, but so far they watch it on TV. And Dad told us that he sings every song, and everyone knows he can sing. Now, there's two things here. My dad is tone deaf. He can sing, but it is not the same tune that it should be. And he knows all the old songs by heart. So I know if he, or wait a minute, we don't know if he really sings or not, but I know if he is, it's definitely joyful noise. So, okay, holy humor. I think God has a sense of humor. I mean, look at the animals he created. Rhinoceroses. What does that horn really do? I mean, what is its function? And giraffes, they have long legs or long necks and little short legs. And elephants have a long nose. You know, it seems like things are out of proportion. And then there's that creepy bird on the car insurance commercials. Have you seen him? There's no logical way that those legs should hold up that body. And I guess the neck and the head is to help balance it all out. I don't know. And then there's donkeys and sheep. Now, I kind of like them. And I think he really likes them because he uses them and talks about them a lot. I mean, he even put a cross on the donkey's back. It's God's creativity that makes it all work. But I think he has a laugh or two as he's doing it. So, thinking on that, let's go to Genesis, which, by the way, it only takes 6 chapters in the Bible before God says this is a mess. Just a little note there. So, in Genesis chapter 6, starting with verse 7, there's Noah and the ark. Now, Mom and I are going to see that next month, so don't ruin it for me, because I have questions. God says, hey, Noah, you have 3 sons, and you need to build me a really big boat. Right there in the Bible, it mentions the sons before anything else about the ark. So the sons, 3 sons, are a big part of this. Jim Reese, how's this going to go? Just imagine. Then God says, basically, this earth isn't working. I'm going to erase it and start over. Because he can do that. Do you ever tell your kids, I can take you out and make another one just like you? Same thing. Don't know that I ever said that either, but I'm accused of it, I'm sure. And then he says, but the animals aren't part of this mess. I like how they turned out. So I want to keep them. And Noah says, what? You're keeping all the animals? No, not all of them. Just one set of each. But the unicorns don't make it. You know, they're out there playing around. There's a song. You remember that song? There's a song somewhere about they were out playing around. They didn't make it. I don't know. You can Google the song later. Jim, it doesn't say that the sons helped build the ark, right? But they are mentioned first, so they had to be a part of the plan. But God gave Noah the exact plans on how to do it. So Noah built it and made room for his family and all the animals and all the food. They loaded the animals, they loaded their food, the rain came, and off they went. All good. We know the rest. But I'm curious, and if they explain this at the ark, don't tell me. I want to be surprised, because I'm going to ask them. There were lots of animals being fed food, which means it leads to lots of what goes in must come out, right? Now, did that stay on the ark? Did they have a way to unload it? How did all that work? And I bet it was more than the daughter-in-laws were interested in agreeing to. So, now we go on to the Gospels and the birth of Jesus. Bang! The donkey. God's favorite animal. Not a pretty horse or a camel with all the nice, at Christmas we see the camels with the fancy, blankets or whatever they call them things. I don't like camels either. That, it should have been those things that carried Mary, but instead was a donkey. And see, God likes animals because he always has animals around. So there they were in a barn or a cave, depending on where you listen to. It wasn't the greatest, but whatever it was comfy. And it was God's plan for a great start. Then in Luke, chapter 9, starting with verse 12, there's the story of feeding 5,000. The people had been with Jesus for 3 days listening to him. A 3-day sermon. I ain't saying nothing. And they hadn't had anything to eat. Can you imagine a 3-day sermon and no food? I mean, we struggle with a 20-minute sermon. Anyway, Jesus is concerned if he sends them home, they will pass out from hunger and walking the long distance. So Jesus looks at the disciples, and he has a great idea. He says, go get the bread you have, and we'll feed them bread. And like Noah, here we go again. Take nothing and make something big from it. At this point in the story, we're not sure, it says 5,000, but there may have been more. We don't know. We just know there's a lot of people. And the disciples say, we have 5 loaves and there's no stores close. So, what do you want to do here? And just like, and Jesus tells them, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Jesus tells them, just everybody sit down. And then he gives thanks. It's always good to pray before a meal. That way there'll be enough. So, they sit down, they pray, and they start handing out the bread. Now, the Bible says they also had a few small fish. Okay? He'd been preaching for 3 days. When did they go fishing? It's not mentioned when they went fishing. How long had these fish been sitting around? Did they just catch it? Did they leave the when? Okay? And how small were they? These are the things you wonder about. And then it doesn't mention that they cooked them. So was this like the first sushi bar? I'm not sure. When my grandma was alive, family meals were huge. Then, after we ate, she spent all afternoon hounding you to eat up. She didn't want any leftovers. She had a ham and 2 turkeys, but eat up. She doesn't want any leftovers. With 5 loaves of bread and a few small, probably smelly, not sure cooked fish, and a 3-day sermon. Maybe it didn't matter. I don't know. Anyway, after all was said and done, everyone had plenty, and there was even enough for leftovers, just like at my grandma's house. Now, almost done here. And this is probably the most disgusting one. How about that blind man in John 9? The disciples point out this man who's blind. They asked Jesus if the man or his parents had sinned, and that's why he was blind. He explains that it was so God's light could be displayed through the man. Then, before the disciples could ask anything else, here we go, Jesus spit on the dirt. And then he made mud. I'm not going to. And he puts it in the man's eyes. Now, I came from the generation that drank out of garden hoses, rode bikes without helmets, and did all that other stuff. But even I know that rubbing mud in somebody's eyes is nasty. Anyway, then Jesus tells the man, go wash his face. And of course, when he does, ta-da, the man can see. Then the poor guy, he goes to tell his neighbors, and they don't believe it's him. It looks like him, but he can see, so it can't be him. So he had to convince them, yes, this is really me. Then they ask how it happened. Now, how many of you are going to believe that a man spit on the ground, made mud, rubbed it in his eyes, and now he can see? Really? How many of you are going to? Because I'm not. Yeah. Mm-mm. So, anyway, while all of this is fun and a quirky way to look at things, I want to share one more thing with all of you. Many times in the Bible, it talks about God wanting us to be happy, to relax, and to trust in him, that we are his children, and he wants to bless us. So here's my last story. What if you checked your bank account and there was $86,400 in your account? And the good news is there's going to be the same amount put in there every day. Every day, right? I'm like, best news ever. But whatever balance is left at the end of that 24 hours is wiped out. It's gone. If you don't use it all in that one day, it's gone. What would you do? Would you take every penny out and use it to your advantage? Who wouldn't? You'd be crazy not to. Now, what if I tell you you have an account like that, and it's called time? Every morning, time credits you with 86,000, it's so big a number, I can't say it. 86,400 seconds. And every night, all the seconds you didn't use are lost. You cannot carry the seconds over or borrow from tomorrow. There's no overdraft protection. Every day, time deposits the same amount, and every night, it eliminates the records of the day. If you don't use your time wisely, it's your own fault. The loss is on you. We can spend our time being worried or concerned or wondering, or we can use it to be happy and joyful and let our faces show it. It's a different way to look at time. 86,400 seconds. It's up to each of us to invest in this time account and to get the most out of it. Kay Lyons said, yesterday is a canceled check, tomorrow is a promissory note, and today is cash. Spend it wisely. Life goes by in the blink of an eye. It's too short to live upset, angry, resentful, ungrateful, or scared. If you look for the good, you'll find it. Choose to be happy and to be at peace. Decide that each day is going to be a great day and grab each moment and make the best of it. Refuse to let the negative thoughts take root in your mind, and refuse to let negative people and situations drag you down. Trust your journey and know that if you make a mistake, it's okay. See it as a lesson learned and keep moving forward. Spend less time worrying and more time being grateful for those who love you and for all of life's goodness. Choose to live in joy. Amen.